of El Paso County, the coroner there, Dr. Robert Bucks. Robert Bucks was the one that did the autopsy report of Candace Hiltz. And Robert Bucks said that she died of a gunshot wound to the face, 5 small caliber gunshot wounds to the back of the head, and a medium caliber gunshot wound with pellets to the left chest. Shot in the face with a shotgun, right, with the spread and all the pellets. Shot in the back of the head with 5 bullets, poo, 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 poo. Shot in the chest with a medium caliber gun on the left side of the chest. In her heart. They shot her in the heart with a medium gun. Shot her in the face with a shotgun. Shot her in the back of the head with a .22. And then Bucks said every one of those shots would have been fatal. Any one of those single shots would have been fatal. 3 different calibers. So earlier this year, Bruce Briscoe was placed on administrative leave. And perhaps, I don't know. I don't think so. Some people might say the allegation is strong enough. Because it's in the newspaper and now everybody knows about it. But Molly Chilson declines to convict. She's not going to put Bruce Briscoe up for court. She's going to go ahead and bury this. So a woman had recently told the Fort Collins police that she had an intimate relationship with Bruce Briscoe in 1999. At the time, he was a Custer County Sheriff's Office patrol deputy serving as the school's officer for the Drug Abuse Resistance Education, the DARE program. So while he was educating her not to do drugs, he was fucking her. He raped. That's statutory rape, and it's not like rape. It's not like he aggressively, got on her. And let me, mention this, too, about the Chinese. But first, she was 17 at the time, and I heard that she graduated. She was still 17, and then he would take her on little, tours of the county. Just, hey, you want to go for a drive with me? And so he would, they would go for a drive, and he would go ahead and stick, his dick in a 17-year-old. So at the very least, it's a statutory rape. Now, it's abuse of, his power, so that's official misconduct. You want to talk about abuse of public records? It was abuse of his power. So, definitely official misconduct. And so I think something should happen. I think he should be punished somewhat. He worked as a patrol deputy in Custer County from June 1996 to May 1999. So for about 3 years. 3 years he was in Custer County, and this 17-year-old, stepped up. And this was in 1999 when that happened. Could there have been somebody in 98? Could there have been somebody in 97? I mean, even though Bruce Briscoe is getting older, they're always staying the same age, right? So the thing I want to mention about the Chinese is there's, you have a right to be in somebody's house. You have a right to say that you wanted sex, and then the moment that it's about to happen, say, no, you don't want to do it. Now, the Chinese had very strict codes about rape. In order for it to constitute rape, the woman had to throw a fit. No, I don't want to be raped. I'm not going to be raped. I'm not going to be raped. I'm not. And just like, violent. I think that's important. That's important to teach our girls. And it's an important, I think, a cultural red line. Because, there was another case where the guy said, it looked like she wanted to have sex, and then he's about to, and then she just says no. And then that was it. And so that's enough, right, if she meant it. But do you know that she meant it? Do you know that she was being honest? And so, is it like one of those, no, don't do that. No, I don't want that. In fact, Louis C.K., I know some women that's like that too. It's like, I just want you to get so crazy about me that you just want to, jump on top of me. And so he's like, well, you just want me to rape you, and to the off chance that you might be into that sort of thing. So there is, some call. It's not like Bruce Briscoe chased a woman down into the alley, a young woman, and raped her. It wasn't like, he forcefully raped anybody. What he did do, however, And Hitler's wife and his niece were 17 when, he met them. So Hitler had a thing for 17-year-olds as well. But what Bruce Briscoe did was he used his power as a police officer, as a officer of the court, and they're supposed to listen to the police officer. He's the dare, he's sitting there telling them all about drugs and whatnot. So he, that's definitely official misconduct, but I guess I'm just trying to figure this out, that he should be punished. It happened, in 99, so it happened 18 years ago, but he needs a punishment. He needs probation. She's, Molly Chilson, she went ahead and said that there's not enough evidence for her to convict. Now, Molly Chilson, she has an office, a prosecutor's office, so she's probably got, 10 people that works underneath of her, and she was a prosecutor for 4 years before. This is her second, just the beginning of her second term, and whenever a police officer files a report, it goes to the intake prosecutor, and then the intake prosecutor looks at the report and, determines whether or not to proceed with that case. I bet you that there has been very rarely any time that any police report that came across Molly Chilson's desk that she questioned it whatsoever. So if you take a piece of paper and you just write a bunch of shit and you hand it to Molly Chilson, she'll be skeptical with you, but a police officer, she's rubber stamping, every single. I always notice in courtrooms is that you have a lot of poor people. You have a lot of poor and powerless people who's in there. And I wonder if that's the reason why they're actually in there, because they're poor and powerless. Because they were dumb enough to listen to the police officer, then they, were captured, and then they were put in jail because they were nobodies, and the cops are just fuck with them. And then once they're nobodies, then they're paraded around the court. The judge acts all high and mighty. The prosecutor acts all high and mighty. They're all short-tempered assholes, just like, no, do this, no, do that, and just assuming that the police report is the word of God and that the person was in jail, rightfully. So sometimes there's violent criminals out there that need to be smashed, but I bet you most of the people of Fremont County are good, calm, decent folk. And all you need to do is, talk it out with people and just figure out the solution to the problems instead of actually accelerating it with more violence. She should go ahead with the case. There's an allegation, and it's hard to, allege anything. Bruce Briscoe was a part of the Candace Hiltz murder investigation. So he's been on the Fremont County Sheriff's Office, for quite some time, on their force for quite some time. And, I'd like to know all the details about that investigation. I want to know the timeline. I want a 2-week timeline of that, those days in August 2006. So he should be charged with official misconduct, statutory rape, and I think that you should allow the jury to make the decision. Molly Chilson is depriving the people of Fremont County to decide the case for themselves. She was the jury, and she said there's nothing here. So she very much is the gatekeeper. She very much stops justice. If there is justice to be performed, it would have to go through her office, and Molly Chilson went ahead and charged Robert Dodd with abuse of public records and 2 misdemeanor counts of official misconduct, 4th degree or 5th degree or something, official misconduct, or 2nd degree. Why not 1st degree? It's straight up fucking official misconduct, okay? So she went ahead and lowered the tampering with evidence charge to protect her old friend Robert Dodd from getting a felony charge. Okay, you don't have to go to jail. You don't have to get strip searched. We're gonna make sure we don't impugn your honor and dignity and integrity and your reputation, even though we don't show any such respect for any one of the victims of Robert Dodd's. When Robert Dodd pointed his fat finger at you, his fat, corrupt finger, and said that you were the one guilty, then Molly Chilson would stamp it. You'd be paraded throughout, the court like you're a fucking criminal. And at no point in time, I say that now I'm, a little bit baffled about this Beverly, England. So there's a 36-year-old suspected homicide of Beverly, England. And you had the sheriff, John Spezzi. She had said something about the grand jury. She refused to ask a grand jury. But actually, Sheriff Spezzi, I don't understand how he doesn't know this. He could just arrest the people, and then once they're arrested, then you could have the trial that way. In fact, I think that Molly Chilson would go ahead and have that trial. So, in emails to investigator Andy Rorich and to Speezy, Chilson wrote the request for the DA's office was becoming moot. She not received answers from the 4 counties in the 11th Judicial District as of those dates, and told commissioners in Chaffee, Fremont, Custer, and Park County in a May 31 teleconference she had a win of about. Molly Chilson is the district attorney for the 11th Judicial District, okay? So the 11th Judicial District, she is the head prosecutor. She's the state's attorney. And being the state's attorney, she thinks that she's, the executive branch. So she's not the governor. She's not the mayor. She doesn't dictate policy, but in a way, she does. And if that's how she looks at it, then so what Sheriff John Spezzi needs to do is fucking arrest. He's got the power to arrest. If you know who it is, you don't need a grand jury indictment. You don't need, you could get a warrant yourself. She's absolutely right about that too. So here, she said she's not going to do a grand jury. She said she was, then she decided not to. But I think maybe John Spezzi wants to present the evidence, but he doesn't need to. He's got the power to arrest, so he can just go ahead and arrest the person, and then it's in her court, right? You got this prisoner in jail. Are you going to release this prisoner who could be guilty of murdering Beverly England? Who killed Beverly? Was made to the family of Beverly England in an October 27th meeting in the Salida District Attorney's Office. Chilson also said that it wasn't necessary for her to sign an arrest warrant. So I guess she can sign an arrest warrant. Is that what we're saying? She can sign. It's not necessary for the district attorney to sign an arrest warrant. If an officer believes evidence is sufficient to seek an arrest warrant, they may present an affidavit to a judge with their oath and signature. So if you want to get an arrest warrant, you have an affidavit, you have, with your oath and signature, you swear that the whole thing's the truth, you sign it, you give it to a judge, bam, now you got an arrest warrant. So, in fact, it says an officer has that, but I would assume that power should be extended to anybody and everybody. But the thin blue line sometimes trump the red, white, and blue line. The red, white, and blue line should be, number. If a grand jury returns an indictment, it does not require a prosecution. So she's saying that she would ignore what the grand jury says. If the grand jury decides to indict, she could be like, fuck that. We're not going to do that at all. And that's the people. The grand jury is the people. So if the grand jury indicts and then she doesn't carry on, the grand jury was to protect people. But then I also heard you can indict a ham sandwich. So it seems like it could go both ways. Rather, a prosecutor has ethical obligations to determine whether there is sufficient evidence to pursue the case, and if not, may dismiss the case. So for Molly Chilson, I hope she has the same barometer, the same litmus, the same standard for anybody and everybody, whether they're a police officer, whether they're off the street. You have a witness testimony, that's one piece of evidence. You didn't take pictures, okay, but you have witness testimony. And that's all that is necessary for a lot of the police reports to go on. So therefore, Molly Chilson should have went ahead with the Bruce Briscoe, case. It's a thin case. She has witness testimony, but in our system, the accuser has to face, who they're accusing and say, this is what that man did. And then, let a jury decide. I think that is the only way, and she's saying she don't have enough money or time, or she don't think she has sufficient evidence. You got a witness statement. And so, coming forward after so many years, I think you should hear her out and put them on trial. Let's see what happens. But instead, she went ahead and quashed it. So she's just showing favoritism. She didn't, charge Robert Dodd with a felony, tamper with evidence, even though you had, stupid shit would get felony assault and all this. They're taking DNA and throwing people in jail and getting strip search, just poor, powerless people. But if it comes to anybody with any sort of stature or, bona fides, then they don't. I thought it was interesting how she actually looks at the system here. She says that an arrest could be made without the grand jury, so you don't even need a grand jury indictment to get a warrant. You can go ahead and present an affidavit to a judge with your oath and your signature. Then the judge could sign the warrant for the officer, so you don't even need the prosecutor. And then you don't even really need a warrant, right? If you have probable cause of a crime being, committed, if you're following a vehicle and they're swerving all over the place, you could stop that vehicle and ask them questions, right? And if they are impaired, you can arrest them. So you don't need a warrant. You don't need to go to the judge. You don't need a grand jury. if you're a police officer, you got the power to arrest, so you can just do it yourself. So she's saying that I don't know if she can actually sign arrest warrants. That'd be interesting. She could sign arrest warrants. It seemed like the judge should be the one who signs the arrest warrant, but she would be the one that would request it. And then she says if a grand jury returns an indictment, then she still didn't have to prosecute. So I think that's super fucked up. The grand jury convened, and they said, you're guilty of, so-and-so, and she's like, no, I don't think so. And an indictment usually is like for a felony crime. Well, I know, but I'm not going to do that. So Molly Chilson is like rewriting the rules to the whole game. She's been, she used to be a prosecutor at one point. She worked in the office underneath somebody else, so now she's trying to put out her own ideas out there. She's begging all these different county courts for money, and she says if she doesn't get her money, well, this is a list of what she's going to do, okay? So, such for Fair Pay and Salida, but she's going to close those offices down. No more Salida and Fair Play offices. And she's like, strangely, we're required to pay rent in all 3 counties. Why do we have to pay rent? We have to consolidate all staff in the Cannon office. So that's important. These are the considerations. Is she the prosecutor for the people, right? She's talking about just taking the offices, closing the Fair Play and Salida offices down. If she's got to do it, she's got to do it. Okay, go ahead. Consolidate in Canyon. But you got to drive all the way out there, right? So I guess you got to compare and contrast what's important here. Number 2, decline prosecution of all marijuana cases, whether county ordinance or state law. You should do that anyways. That's a fucking waste of money. Why are you even pursuing that? Every time that any officer puts a fucking marijuana fence in front of you, throw that shit in the fucking garbage. Fuck you. The war on drugs is a failure. Just take it out of the cops and, the criminal justice system completely out of their hands. It's a public health issue. It's like these damn goat heads. Would you arrest all these goat heads for being the poison and destroying people's feet and bike tires? Would you do that? Thurman, she's, she needs money, and she needs money from these county governments. But I'll be honest, the county government has the power of the purse, okay? She thinks that she's the executive, an executive officer. So therefore, she thinks that she can, go around, basically she thinks she's the head enchilada. So the commissioners should be like, look, the only way we're going to give you this money is if A, B, C, and D, list a whole bunch of things just like she did. You need to do these things for us. You keep on coming out here telling us to give you more money, and then you keep throwing a tantrum when we don't give you more money. Here's a statement. Here's a statement. Here's what you need to do in order to be a good prosecutor for us. If you're not a good prosecutor, then we're not going to pay you at all. We'll give you $0, and then you'll have nothing to work with, and we don't even want you in our county. We don't want you prosecuting anybody. We'll go ahead and prosecute our own damn cases. We don't need you. So these 7 things are reasons why she is. Decline prosecution of residue Schedule 1 and Schedule 2 controlled substance cases. I don't know what residue. Oh, residue. So that means there's residue. Oh, there's some residue here. We have a little tiny bit of marijuana residue. We have a tiny bit of heroin residue. So, again, this is the war on drugs. Stop doing the war on drugs. Don't pay her. This is exactly what we want. We don't want her to be prosecuting marijuana cases or engaging in the war on drugs. Step down. Quit doing that. Go after the murderers. Go after the rapists. Have you been going after the murderers? I mean, there's people that's being shot up and people that are dying in these jails. 3 people have died since 2014 in Fremont County jails. Are we making sure? Did anybody get arrested for John Patrick Walter's death? Did anybody get arrested whatsoever? Did anybody sign a warrant? Any judge, any prosecutor, any officer, anybody give a fuck? Did anybody give a fuck? Says that means meth and heroin. So, and then she says law enforcement and the public will not be pleased. No, you mean law enforcement. Law enforcement won't be pleased. Oh, are they begging for money too? So stop it. Knock it off with this shit, okay? Fuck you, Molly Chilson. Fuck you going around and extending the war on drugs. Nixon's war on drugs has failed. It has failed. Let's start being compassionate and tolerant. It's a public health issue. If there's a person that's addicted to heroin and they don't hurt anybody, the law is there to protect one person from injuring another person. And if there is a person who is just getting doped up on heroin all day and they don't injure anybody, that's not a criminal. You could feel sorry for them unless they're happy. Maybe that's their, life's achievement. Maybe that's all they give a shit about and they're fucking happy. If that's the case, then back off. You got nothing. I mean, who the fuck are you to judge? you're going around judging people. Maybe they think that, judging people is something to be looked down upon. Wants adequate resources to prosecute crimes of violence. Good. She's anti-violence. I like that. And if these are non-violent cases, non-violent victimless cases, fuck you. Fuck you. Throw them goddamn meth and heroin cases out too. Go give that fucking meth head a goddamn hug, and maybe take them to the hospital, try to get their life together, but it's not something to make their life worse. So fuck the war on drugs. Every time the war on drugs has been implemented, it has failed, and everywhere that the alternatives, whether it's in Portugal, in Uruguay, Colorado, it has succeeded. Has the legalization of marijuana succeeded here? Absolutely. Absolutely. So, okay, we understand. We're not pleased either, but I'll do it to make sure. Okay, good. Keep going after the crimes of violence. Decline prosecution of all unlawful use controlled substance cases. Holy shit! If we don't give her money, she's going to stop the drug war. Don't pay her. Don't pay Molly Chilson. Or dismiss cases immediately to law enforcement when complete reports and evidence are not submitted. What the fuck? You should be doing that anyways. Molly Chilson, if a police gives you a shitty fucking report, then make sure you gather your evidence. Isn't that what the fuck you're saying you're doing with Bruce Briscoe, right? You determine whether there's enough evidence. Every one of that's something you should do anyways. And if that saves you money, why the fuck would you not do that? Why would you sit there and take every goddamn case that comes before your desk? No, you don't have to. You're the executive branch. If you think you're the executive, that means the cops work underneath you. I think you're judicial, to be honest. But if you think you're executive, then that means you don't don't let the tail wag the dog. You're the big dog. You're the head enchilada. Tell these cops what you want and what you don't want. This is crap. I'm not going to go after marijuana anymore. Get the fuck out of here. I don't have enough money for this shit. So, I'm not going to pursue this. We do an awful lot of hand-holding right now. I do not believe we could continue to do without more funding. Don't fucking hold their hands. Why would we pay you to hold their hands? Decline traffic cases below M1 traffic offenses. So if they're not, heinous traffic offenses, then don't prosecute traffic cases. Significant expenditures for trauma-related mental health care for all in our office who work homicide, sexual assaults on children, sexual exploitation of children, and a variety of other offensive causes secondary trauma to our staff. Okay, that's the only part that actually I give a shit about. Yes, keep mental health care in the office for the officers who work with sexual assaults on children, sexual exploitation of children, and homicides. So that's absolutely 100% necessary. The other 6 of the 7, call her bluff on it. If anything, we got to see where the power lies. She needs money. Well, don't give her money for the war on drugs. In the war on drugs, Fremont County, she said that the closure of Fairplay and Salida offices would mean that the Canyon office is That's good for Fremont County. Good. Close all the other offices and just have all the lawyers right there, right? If the prosecutor is a good, positive force, then yeah, have all the prosecutors in Canyon. That's best for Fremont County. So stop prosecuting marijuana cases. Yeah, we're not paying you. Then you're going to return or dismiss cases when they're not reported. So that means, it's safe to assume that you've been taking incomplete police reports and then prosecuting them. You've been taking incomplete police reports, evidence that isn't submitted. You're holding them by the hand. I need this, I need that. Go ahead and do this and do that. And so you're essentially helping their weak-ass complaint become a strong complaint. Well, we don't want you to do that. If the cop has got integrity and he went ahead and did the investigation like he was supposed to, then he's got a case and he presents the case to you, and then hopefully, some of these men are just pissed off that she's actually demanding any of this stuff. Dennis Gleason, Chaffee County, said that her message was an ultimatum. And she's like, don't be burning bridges here. So it's not really, it is an ultimatum in a way, but it's an ultimatum that, fuck her, okay? What? If you don't get any money, you're not going to prosecute marijuana cases. I don't want you to prosecute marijuana cases anyways. So let's bleed that office dry. Give her a big fat 0. If that's all she's going around is just arresting people for marijuana, fuck you. I only want you to focus on the violent crimes. I only want you to go after the cases that the cops have plenty of evidence and they wrote a good report. You didn't write a good report? Fuck it. Throw it out. If it's a small traffic offense, nobody got hurt, throw that shit out. Small drug offenses, throw that shit out. Residue cases, throw all the residue cases out. You have a big meth lab, you have a big fucking heroin, operation, fine. But if you just got one little user that's like pitiful and pathetic and has no power and no money, fuck you. We're not going to waste the criminal justice system on this stupid ass not paying her. She's got enough money to do her job. She just got a 9% increase last year. She wanted a 20% increase this year, but they only give her a 10%. So she's getting her money, but she keeps on demanding more and more money. She's got more buddies and friends that she wants to hire, okay? There's a lot of people that wants to be, she's got all these brand new lawyers that she wants to bring into the thing so they can start fucking people's lives over too. Fuck that. That's not good enough reason for me. If she says by not giving her all, her extra 10%, demands, then she'll go ahead and end the war on drugs. Good. End the fucking war on drugs. That's exactly what I want to happen. Don't give her a penny. And then Thom Ledoux, this guy was the fucking, prosecutor to begin with. And now he's subordinate. Now he's underneath her. These assholes are just using each other, right? And then what? They're going to put another staffer up. They become the DA, and then they never lose their jobs. They'll be prosecutors of the 11th district for the rest of their lives. Commissioners in Park and Chaffee counties have already voted to approve the district attorney's request at the full 20%. Custer County commissioners approved a smaller percentage increase. Fremont County commissioners will vote on their budget Tuesday. These commissioners don't realize that they're the executive. The mayors and the governor and the commissioners are the executive branch. So if you don't understand that, then you're letting Molly Chilson walk all over you because she understands that she's the executive. There's several executives. If she is one, I doubt she's the judicial branch. How is she not the judicial branch? So the executive branch would be the commissioners. So this is what we want out of you. With all this shit that she just said, fuck her. I mean, I would absolutely cut her funding. So they said, Custer County commissioners approved a smaller percentage increase. Fremont County will vote on their budget later. So Custer County gave her a budget increase. Park and Chaffee counties gave her the 20%, the full 20%. You go ahead and tell me this is Title 18 Criminal Code. Let's see, 18.8.610. Okay, Title 18, Article 6, Chapter 610. I don't know, 18-8-610. And what this is tampering with evidence. And so a person commits tampering with physical evidence if believing that an official proceeding is pending or about to be instituted and acting without legal right or authority. He, A, destroys, mutilates, conceals, removes, or alters physical evidence with intent to impair its verity or availability in the pending or prospective official proceeding. Or B, knowingly makes, presents, or offers any false or altered physical evidence with intent that it be introduced in the pending or prospective official proceeding. 2, physical evidence used in this section including any article, object, document, record, or any other thing of physical substance except that physical evidence does not include evidence is everything except for body parts, the corpse, part of a human body, or human remains. Why? Because that's a violation of Section 18-8-610.5. Okay, that's a whole other charge, right? Probably abuse of a corpse or something. Now, tampering with physical evidence is a Class 6 felony. Very low felony, but a felony nonetheless. Robert Dodd is 100% guilty of this, right? Articles, objects, documents, records, anything of physical substance. So this is crime. This is a crime. And since we just found all that stuff in the landfill after the charges were already put, that would make it definitely tamper with evidence. How is it not tamper with evidence at this point? Right? Maybe you could have said that was evidence for a different case and then that case was closed out, but they keep saying they can't answer questions because the investigation is still going. So if there's an investigation still going and this shit's being tampered with, Molly Chilson seems to be under this misnomer that what we the people want is for her to convict in everything that the police put in front of her. That is not what I want. If they have a shoddy fucking complaint, then it might be a shoddy fucking case. Be efficient. I would rather, you be efficient just to be efficient, not, demand and give ultimatums and shit. So drop the fucking marijuana cases, drop the fucking war on drugs bullshit. Fuck that. Go after the violent crimes. The violence, the rapes, the murders. Yeah, those are real crimes. Somebody, doing a bunch of heroin in the privacy of their own home, that's not a fucking crime. And talking about residue cases, so I don't want you to prosecute anybody and everybody. If a cop gives you a shoddy case and then you go ahead and hold their hand, as she says, then that means you're making cases where cases aren't. So you're trying to establish cases, and then if the member of the public says something, you don't listen to them at all. That's not good.